One of the most fascinating things in the political world right now is seeing the former detractors end up coming to the realistic side of politics. Marc Benioff, who, by the way, Charlie himself had hammered a ton because of how bad he was in the 2016 election, in the 2020 election, is apparently coming around to the side of sanity. The CEO of Salesforce, who is a major lib in so many ways, or at least has been, really interestingly gave a, I don't know, wide ranging New York Times interview in which they wrote, coming to the conclusion that he is fully behind President Trump on a couple key issues. This is from the New York Times. In a wide-ranging interview, Mr. Benioff said this week he was avidly in support of President Trump and thought the National Guard troops should be deployed to San Francisco, his hometown, and where he kind of lives. He lives on and off between there and Hawaii. He said an action that city leaders would be considered beyond the pale. In other words, this former major Hillary Clinton supporter and donor is now saying, yeah, this is too much. Enough is enough. Things actually need to change. Now, whether or not he's sincere about that, I don't know. But the realistic side of me seems to think that maybe he is, but that's not what the New York Times thinks, which is really interesting when they go on further. Too many, this is the New York Times again, too many Silicon Valley observers, such attempts to accommodate Mr. Trump are simply a matter of protecting their tech businesses. Isn't that what you hear constantly? Tim Cook of Apple, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Sam Altman of OpenAI, all going to the White House, all participating in state dinners, all engaging with President Trump. That can only mean one thing, that they're trying to curry favor with the administration. And for some reason, well, we know the reason, the libs entirely neglect a huge potential in this that is, well, maybe they're starting to see the reality of the policies that the libs have inflicted upon this country. Maybe Marc Benioff walks around the streets of San Francisco, avoiding human poop and feces everywhere he goes, and thinks, yeah, maybe the libs have kind of screwed things up a little bit. Maybe he's starting to see places like Portland, Chicago that are just rampant with crime, thinking, yeah, maybe we do need some sort of order. Maybe the pie in the sky ideas of libs and how the policies they inflict actually impact the society. Well, maybe that's not exactly what I wanted it to be. Maybe it's not what I hoped for, and the reality is just a little bit different. But nope. The New York Times' only conclusion is that these guys are trying to curry favor with the president. They go on to talk about the Dreamforce conference that Benioff and Salesforce have in San Francisco, set to begin on Tuesday in downtown San Francisco, bringing 50,000 visitors to the city. He lamented that he has plans to pay hundreds of off-duty law enforcement officers to help patrol the convention area, and said that San Francisco needs to refund the police. That to me does not sound like somebody who's trying to curry favor with the administration. It sounds to me like somebody who recognizes the reality on the ground and is going, oh, yeah, I know I'm bringing 50,000 people to this city. I don't want them to get, at worst, stabbed, or at minimum, but also still not quite a minimum, pooped or peed on by the homeless junkies that continue to live on the streets of San Francisco. The New York Times continues to say, over a 50-minute conversation, Mr. Benioff did not have a negative word to say about Mr. Trump or his policies. He did say, and this is a quote, "I fully support the president. I think he's doing a great job." The only reason that could be happening is because he wants to curry favor with the president. So says the New York Times and so many other lib outlets, completely disregarding the potential that maybe he is seeing some actual benefits to the policies that conservatives put in place. The last thing I'll say on this is during the interview, Mr. Trump's voice could be heard in the background. Mr. Benioff was actually watching, while he was on the phone with this reporter from the New York Times, he was watching a YouTube video about the Israeli hostage release deal, which he praised the president for. But again, the only reason that he would be praising President Trump is to get a leg up with his tech business, not because he sees tangible benefits from the president of the United States, I don't know, ending wars around the world. None of that. It's because he wants to be a part of the oligarchy, would say Bernie Sanders. I almost slipped into my Bernie Sanders accent there for a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's crazy. Again, Charlie himself railed against Marc Benioff, deservedly so, because Marc Benioff was a big time lib. I hope this is genuine, but let me know your thoughts. TPT at tpusa.com. Do you think Marc Benioff is genuinely coming around the conservative perspective after he sees the horrible failures of lib policies? Or do you agree with the New York Times? Is he just trying to curry favor with the President of the United States? I am optimistic. I hope it is the former. Let me know if you think it's the latter. TPT at tpusa.com.